Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to some good old pirate chess. We are again in the Fujairah Global Tournament of 2025, and we have a very nice game featuring none other than Nikolas Theodorou versus Hungarian Grandmaster. I think he's 26-year-old Gergely Kantor, and it's a game that usually you don't see. I mean, especially between two grandmasters. We're always looking for that player that is able to play like the magician, like the great Mikhail Tal. And we've been searching far and wide, but so far Nikolas could be the one. And we featured him on the channel many times. I always check out all of his games if there's a nice one. There are so many nice ones already in this tournament that I could have chosen any game. I'm probably going to show all of them, but let's start with this one. And for those of you who are perhaps hearing about Nikolas for the first time, also do check out some of the other links in the description below. He has beautiful victories against Rajabov. He defeated Rajabov within 2 minutes of a classical game, which is absolutely insane. He defeated Arjun Ergais, he defeated Fabiano Caruana. And one of the nicest games that we've covered lately was none other than Nikolas versus Vasily Ivanchuk from the US Chess Cup. If you haven't seen that game, Improve Your Day will be the first link in the description below. Even though Nikolas won the US Chess Cup, that game is, definitely the jewel of the tournament. But getting back to this one, I have no idea how to describe this game other than, be careful, there's a new pirate on the horizon. So let's check it out. Nikolas with white opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6 by Gergely, knight to f3 and pawn to d5. And we have bishop to f4. Nikolas goes for the London system. We have pawn to c5, e3 and pawn to e6. So a pretty standard way of countering the London. We have knight b to d2 and queen to b6, where usually you would want to play something like c3 or bishop to d3, but bishop to d3 here would be met with pawn to c4, and pawn to c3 here would be met with queen captures on b2, and you really don't have a good follow-up. Now rook b1, queen captures on c3, and there are lines where you can even sacrifice 2 pawns, but this just isn't one of them. So you have to play rook to b1 here. This is what Nikolas does. We have bishop to d6, offering a trade of bishops, and only now, as the bishop was developed, you capture on c5. So d captures on c5, queen captures, and bishop to g5. So keeping the bishop in the game, and there are quite a few games that reach this position, even in top-tier chess. For example, Castles here was tried by Vidit against Nodirbek Abdusattorov. Their game ended in a draw. Here they continue with knight b to d7. Gergely decides to defend the knight, and here we have bishop to d3. Again, another top-level game. Vladimir Fedosev played bishop to e2 here against Mustafa Yilmaz last year, and their game ended in a draw. But here we have bishop to d3, and it is now as of move 9 that we have a completely new game. So okay, pawn to h6, challenging the bishop, bishop to h4, and now striking immediately with pawn to e5. And already you get the feeling that maybe white allowed black a little bit too much with this insane central control, and nothing seemingly wrong here. As usual, black will have some problems developing the light square bishop, but b6, bishop to b7. All seems to be, going as planned. So, and also pawn to e4 is just a threat of winning a piece. So Nikolas has to play pawn to e4. We have d captures, knight captures, and bishop captures. We have knight to b6. Okay, nicely preparing to develop the bishop. And okay, you'd probably expect castle's kingside here, but not from Nikolas. He plays pawn to b4, which, of course, you guys know that is the strongest move in any position. And even though the engine doesn't like it here, I'm still gonna say it's the strongest move in this position. Because look at this, queen to c3 check, and now just king to f1. Okay, no problem. No castles, no problem. We have the bishop on d6 is hanging. So queen back to c7, and now just king to g1. Okay, so how do you continue? Well, you could just castle kingside and then probably c4 with some ideas of c5. If you capture, maybe rook c1. It looks a little, maybe a bit too much. The engine says it's not a problem, but knight to a4 seems like a much more human approach. Just threatening knight c3 to win the game on the spot. So, okay, queen d3. We have knight to c3 and rook to e1. We have castles kingside and the bishop to g3, putting some pressure on that e3 pawn. We have bishop to d7, continuing development. f6 would have been the safer option, but again, you've already won some material. You don't want to open up your king for nothing. Bishop to h7 check, king to h8, and now look at this. Rook captures on e5. And the idea behind rook captures on e5 is a very deep one. Obviously, the rook cannot be captured, but if you capture it, you might as well resign the game. Point being that after bishop captures, you will play bishop captures, attack the queen and the knight, and now after, let's say, queen b6, you will capture the knight on c3, and already black is very close to losing the game on the spot. If you don't play bishop to b5, which is still very, very hard to play for black, I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say you go rook a d8. Look at this. Bishop d4 attacks the queen, queen captures c3, and once the queen moves, there really are no more good moves for black here. You're just going to play pawn to h4, get the rook into the game, and not a lot for black to do here. Let's say rook f to e8, bishop goes back to e4, let's say go king to g8, queen to b1, and after, let's say, bishop to c6, you can even trade bishops, and after, let's say, rook h3, pawn to c5, you can play queen to f5, stop the capture as the queen on a5 is hanging, rook to c8 now, hoping to, maybe do something because, okay, you've defended the c5 pawn, but now bishop captures on g7. And that's it. King captures knight e5, threatens the f7 pawn, rook f8, rook to g3 check. Sorry, that's not a g3. Rook g3 check, and a few more moves, and you get checkmated. Queen to g7, or something will be checkmate. So rook captures on e5. If you accept this, it will not end well for black. So bishop to b5 is the only move that gives black advantage, and it's the one Gergely plays. But as you can see by the situation on the clock, we're on move 21, and he's already down to 10 minutes on the clock. So what does Nikolas play? Does he move the queen? Absolutely not. Rook captures on b5. Okay, knight captures on b5. We have queen captures on b5. Bishop captures on g3. H captures on g3. And now king captures on h7. And what is the evaluation? Okay, 6 pawns for Nikolas, 5 pawns for Gergely, but Gergely is up in exchange. And also, what is there for Nikolas to do? Well, there's knight g5 check. Okay, what do you play here? King to g8, only move that you can play. And now look at this, queen to d3, threatening checkmate. And of course, you cannot capture the knight because the rook helps out with checkmate from h1. So what can you play here? Now, interestingly, there's a move that's sort of basically just saying, okay, I'm satisfied with a draw. There's a move that says, all right, I'm ready to fight for a draw. And there's a move that, sort of gives black advantage, but it's really not easy to spot. So what would you play here? I think this is the most interesting point in the game where black can make, a difference here. But it's not, maybe it's the first move you guys think of. What would you play here with black? So if any of you decided to go for this, congratulations. That is definitely, the spirit. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, rook to d8 is the move to play here. And perhaps not for the first move that comes to mind. Point is that after queen h7 check, king to f8, and knight back to f3, you will play rook d1 check, and you will trade off rooks. And that's basically the point. Now you go rook to d8, and okay, you will have to give up the g7 pawn. Nothing wrong with that. King e7, queen captures, and you have the black king on an open board. The queen and knight will be hunting that king for the rest of the game, but you will have a chance here. Black has a chance to mess up, of course. They say where there's a knight, there's a way. Objectively, black is a little bit better here. But in the game after queen d3, rook f to e8 was played. Probably Gergely wanted the d8 square for this rook, and if you can play rook a to d8, then obviously you are perfectly fine. But queen h7 check, king to f8, and now knight back to f3 stops rook to e1, and we have queen to d3. Queen to c3, putting pressure on the c2 pawn, putting pressure on the b4 pawn. If you can eliminate the b2 pawn, the b4 pawn, obviously it will be very good for you. But here, Nikolas just goes rook to h4. He defends the b4 pawn, and he says now this rook is joining the attack. Was this Nikolas's plan all along? When he played king to f1, king g1? Most likely. We have rook 8 to d8. Now both rooks are nicely mobilized. Rook to f4, and now rook to e6, helping out with the defense of the black king. Now you can double up on the d file, you can double up on the e file. However, less than 3 minutes on the clock. Nikolas plays king to h2, and now probably rook d5, and then you walk your king all the way to the queen side. Maybe, play b6 or a6, create some squares for the king, is the way to go. But he started with b6, and now his position is completely lost. And it is absolutely amazing that, such positions can even exist. What do you play here as white? There's only one way to win the game. What do you play? Yes, amazing as it is, the only move that wins the game is knight to h4. And whoever says that they calculated this is most certainly lying. If you thought about it, okay, you have a nice intuition, but I don't think anyone is calculating this, and I will show you why. So let's say you continue in the best possible way, and let's say you go rook d5, and that is exactly what Gergely played here. So it's time to start marching your king queen side. Queen to h8 check, this was played, king e7, and now queen to g8, going after the f7 pawn. So okay, this is the only move that wins for white. Rook to f6, stopping queen captures on f7, or rook captures, and now queen captures on g7. And now the problem is that undefended queen on c3 and the knight on h4. And the problem is, let's say you go rook d to d6, you defend on f6, you might be, okay, no problem there, knight to f5 with a beautiful fork here, and also rook captures is impossible due to queen captures on c3. So you'd have to move the king, and then you grab the free rook, as if the knight is captured, then you just trade on f6, and that's it. You're up a full rook, or you can capture with the rook, doesn't really matter. Everything is winning here for white. So that is the reason behind knight to h4. But okay, rook to g5 was played, attacking the queen here, but now rook e4 check, king to d7, and queen to h8. The only move that wins, but Nikolas finds it. So, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, he gets in these positions where you have to play it engine precise, 3 engine precise moves, and he's able to do it. And now the problem is you can't really move the rook. The queen is still hanging. And if you play something like queen to c6, okay, you get the queen out of the way, you defend the rook, then it's queen e8 check, and after the king moves, let's say king to d6, you will play queen to d8 with check, and that's it. No more squares for the black king. You have to block, and then rook d4 check, and you will just get the king away from the black queen, win the queen, and that's it. You win the game easily. So in the game, queen to c7 was played. For the lack of a better move, Gergely was already below the 30-second mark, seconds mark, and now queen captures on f6, and he was in this position on move 38 that Gergely Kantor resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. He is the one who is now down a piece, and without any compensation, whatever he plays, okay, rook e7 already wins the queen, but anything else you play, you're either getting checkmated or you're going to suffer severe material loss. So yeah, I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Nikolas is the one true pirate, and that is why we always like to see him play and show pretty much every game that he plays. They're absolutely incredible, and already very much looking forward to the next game that he plays. And I will be very happy if I will be able to share it with you. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, do check out a couple of games from the description below. If you only have time for one, I suggest the one against Vasily Ivanchuk. But also, if you have time, check out all of them. They are, they are like this. You like pirate chess, check out Nikolas's games. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Derek King, Hernan Escalante Jr., Robert Kiefer, Edmund Freeman, and Stephen Wentworth for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you want to become the one true pirate, check out also one of the links in the description below. Download Lotus Chess and learn how to play real fighting chess to crush your opponents in great style. See you soon.